And welcome back, guys. I'm over here on Assassin's Creed Shadows, and today I'm going to be giving my honest review of what I thought of the game. I'm also going to be talking about what's going on with my YouTube channel, what I'm working on, what may change. So starting off with Assassin's Creed Shadows, what did I think of the game? I found the game incredibly boring at the start of the game. Because when you're starting off at the beginning of the game, they don't tell you a lot of things of what to do. They tell you how to do, defend yourself against enemies and things like that, but they don't tell you where to get bandages or rations or meds. It's one of those moments where you're like, okay, how the hell do I heal the character? Just looking around. Okay, there's nothing on this character that I just defeated. Like, what the hell, right? Uh, so that was aggravating, sitting there for an hour. Oh, okay, I go to this crate inside of a castle, and it gives me rations, which equals meds, which allows you to heal the character. Like, it would have been a lot easier if you just said this up front. Like, what the hell, right? So, there's a lot of miscommunication with the game telling you how to do things, basically, is what I felt was going on in the beginning of the game. In the beginning of the game, you are met with a NPC walking into a bench, which is never a good sign for playing a new game. Now, I was one of those people that bought the $227 version of the Assassin's Creed known as Ultra Rare, and it said in the description that you would get early access, which I did not receive early access. And what pissed me off the most about Assassin's Creed Shadows was other YouTubers/streamers that were promoting Assassin's Creed Shadows had 4 weeks early access to the game, and people that reserved $227 worth of Assassin's Creed, the rare edition, did not get access. I was one of those people. I'm pissed. So as we're seeing our favorite YouTubers posting on day one their gaming content of them physically, showing their gameplay on day fucking one of Assassin's Creed physically releasing, that doesn't give any small gaming channels any freaking chance when you've got big YouTubers or streamers already have their gameplay ready to go, where it's sitting on their YouTube channel unlisted, and they're just waiting for the game to go, being released. It's like, what the fuck? So I do not think I'm going to ever buy a game from Ubisoft unless other YouTubers say it's really good and it actually shows proof that the game's really good. Because this is bullshit. Me buying either access or a game for $227, the rare edition, where it says, hey, you'll get early access, and you don't get it. It's kind of like, what the fuck? So I'm mostly pissed about that. That's what mostly pissed me off about Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ubisoft. So after 30 hours into the game, once you hit the 30-hour mark, the game starts becoming interesting. Uh, the bottom line here is the game is just dead on boring. You're sitting there for an hour, hour and a half in cutscene. Oh, I gotta press a button in between these cutscenes. Like you're sitting there with your thumb stuck up your ass for 60 minutes watching a cutscene. That's not fun. You can visually see in some of these cutscenes that the post-processing in the background, which is part of a game engine, is glitching out, or the shader in the background, which is supposed to be fire and like ambient lighting, is screwing up. You can clearly tell this. It's like, okay, did they test their fucking game, or did they just have a bunch of YouTubers and streamers run through it with recording their gameplay and didn't physically thoroughly test this? Now, you need to understand from Ubisoft's side that this game is huge, right? I make virtual maps over on VRChat. I make virtual club maps, so I kind of understand why Ubisoft would be pissed, where they're over here physically hand sculpting a map, where they're physically making a map from scratch. So I gone ahead, I took a picture of this, I ran it through a website that would search for like 3D prefabs or models. I couldn't find anything, right? So as far as I can tell, everything we're looking at, so I'll try to zoom in. See that little house thing over there? That's something they made from scratch, right? That little thing right there is made from scratch. That's made from scratch. I could not find any 3D prefabs. I could not find anything AI generated. I know a lot of people were accusing Ubisoft of using AI generated stuff, but as far as I can tell, I don't see anything AI generated. I see a lot of, handmade models from scratch. Now, what's interesting to me is how Japan threw a fit over temples inside of Assassin's Creed Shadows. But if we look at some of the Assassin's Creed Shadows games before, no one threw a fit over those temples, right? Now, I understand from Japan's point of why they threw a fit over Ubisoft fucking around and finding out regarding putting temples that are known to be in Japan in real life, where there's replicas of those temples inside of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I can understand why they would be pissed about that. And yeah, the objects inside those temples should have been static. It's probably a work at Ubisoft that probably overlooked that. Ubisoft is probably so busy trying to make sure this game ran correctly when it launched for players to use that they probably didn't have time to look for every nick and cranny. It's a huge game. Let's look at this map. Put yourself in developer's shoes for a second, right? Remember, this is a huge castle. You're not going to be able to bug test every nick and cranny. You can try, but, shit's going to happen when you launch a game of this size. So, just keep this in mind. Put yourself in a developer of making a game's shoes, okay? Have you tried making your own game? No? Because it's really hard to make your own game. You can make a demo, but usually when developers make a game, it usually starts off as a demo, and it doesn't really go far from there unless you have investors to, give you money in order to get your game out there where people go, oh, it exists. So, when we look at Blizzard or Activision or the creators of Fallout, I can never pronounce the name of that game studios correctly, so I'm just going to say the creator of Fallout 4 or Fallout 76. They're backed by investors. That's why their games are so good. And you also got the game developers, you got the coders, the voice actors. Like, there's entire huge teams and companies that back those games. Now, when we look at Ubisoft, like, we look at Black Flag, right? That was my favorite game, right? I will rather replay Assassin's Creed Black Flag right now than replay Assassin's Creed Shadows. Why did I see Assassin's Creed Black Flag more as a favorite game? Because even after you get done with the storyline, you can still do stuff on your little pirate ship, or you can, upgrade stuff, and, you can still do stuff that's of interest. Here on Assassin's Creed Shadows, once you get done with the main storyline, you're not really interested in doing these side missions. There's nothing to encourage me to want to continue playing the game after the storyline's done, basically. So I have all these little like side quests here. I'm like, why? Why would I want to do that? I have to sit through either a boring cutscene again, or like, there's nothing to motivate me to go over there. There's nothing to motivate me to come over to this waypoint. There's no side quest, nothing, right? So looking at it from my point of view, because I understand the annoyances. I understand it's frustrating making a large map like this because, like I said, I make virtual dance club worlds over in VRChat, so I can understand, how the Ubisoft staff feels when they've sat here for several years building Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I can understand why they'd be upset and pissed off. They thought this would be a good game, but it's not. If you like farm simulators or you like the game called Out of Ore, if you like boring games where you're just sitting there farming or you're digging out a trench or something like that, yeah, this would be a decent game for people that like boring games. Like I said, the game only becomes interesting 30 hours in. Uh, Good example. I never even came out to this waypoint because there was nothing encouraging me to come out here. I see a little question mark, but I'm like, we've got mountains. Fuck that. You know, uh, now going back to the Japan side of things, right? I can understand Japan being pissed off, uh, but what a lot of these countries don't understand is when game developers make a game, they don't have to ask you permission for using a temple's master's name in a game. They do not have to ask you for permission to put a temple or a building from your country into a game. They do not have to ask you for permission for that. There is no law saying that they can't do it. That's how Ubisoft got away with it. It's also, when the company of Ubisoft is over in French, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that. Don't actually know exactly where they're located, but the point is, they're in another country, and in that country, let's say, for example, Ubisoft is operating out of Germany, and let's say Germany makes a game, and they want to have like some Chinese temples or Japan temples. They don't have to ask to make a 3D model of a temple of a real place in real life and put it in their game. They don't have to ask. You can sit there and be pissed about it. You can sit there and throw a fit about it. It wouldn't really change anything. You could sit there and try to do a lawsuit about it, but it wouldn't really do anything. It'd just be, okay, you're complaining about someone using a 3D model that is crafted from scratch in either Blender, Maya. These are 3D modeling programs where you can make 3D models, and you're throwing a fit because someone made a replica of a real place and they made a duplicate of that real place and put it in a game. It's a 3D object. It's digital. Like, I don't understand why they're throwing such a fit about that. Now, part two of this. I understand Japan is very, very, um, what's the word for it? I want to make sure I'm clear with my wording. I don't want no backlash. So, Japan sees their temples as like sacred, honor, things like that. And, Ubisoft not making the object static inside of those temples in a 3D model slash digital version of those temples, that was a stupid thing to do on Ubisoft's part. So, bottom line, when it comes down to it, like, if you're going to make a game and you're going to have like temples from Japan or China in your game, make the object static. It should be common knowledge to do. Is a And I want to break this down the simplest way possible. Okay, what happens when you give a dog a bone? Right, dog's happy. Right. What happens when you take the bone away from the dog? Dog's pissed off you took his bone away. Right. You can understand why Japan would be pissed about a player walking up in a shrine and fucking it up. Because they see that as, you know, you could see that as like a dog toy. You took their toy right away. You could see that as you could see that as that player that was caught doing that, you know, destroying something that they feel is sacred. You know, it doesn't take much to offend the Japanese people. I'm not trying to be rude about that. I'm trying to be very clear and where people can understand that whoever thought this was a good idea to combine a samurai game with Assassin's Creed, that was the most stupidest idea that I think I've ever heard of because it does not match well. So, with Assassin's Creed's Black Flag, you have a pirate that's running around as Assassin's Creed. That made sense, and it was fun. Over here in Assassin's Creed Shadows, you see two characters. You've got a female character, which I'd rather play as the female character because after 30 hours of gameplay, it starts feeling Assassin's Creed after a while. As soon as you hit 30 hours in this game and you've got the skill tree unlocked, literally, what is this skills tree crap? Like, literally, if you don't spec into this, the game's literally, hey, look, I have a sword. Oh, it's so shiny. Maybe I can tint it gold. Hey, NPC, look at this look at this sword. Doesn't that look great? Yeah, no, that's not Assassin's Creed at all. And, and you unless you put your skill points into this or over here, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game at all. If you're just doing this, 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 and this, it doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed at all. I barely played as the character over here, the male character. The male character is just very slow, clunky, the mechanics kind of sucked, and honestly, it just doesn't fit very well for a storyline in this game. After 30 hours, the game starts picking up, it starts becoming kind of interesting. I'm just sitting here most of my time playing the game because I'm sitting here like I paid $227 for a game thinking I would get early access, even though it said in the description that you would get early access, and I did not get early access. I got to at least play it once, right? So, I'm 30 hours into the game and sitting here, when will this fucking storyline fucking end? Don't get me wrong, it was a long game. It kept me, busy for a long time, but yeah, bottom line, it was a very boring game. I enjoyed playing as the female character. At 30 hours of gameplay, it started feeling more Assassin's Creed. Unfortunately, it was towards the end of the game, but you kind of see whoever designed the storyline, yeah, you might want to re-examine what the hell they were thinking. So, what would I consider Assassin's Creed Shadows? I would consider Assassin's Creed Shadows as a farm simulator. Because that's all you're really doing is you're going from location to location and you're completing a task and you can literally farm these castles over and over again for, you know, weapon upgrades, gear upgrades, and things like that. You can literally go to every single one of these spots on the map and refarm them. It kind of reminds me of Once Human. The only difference is this is a single player game, not an online game. Uh, the only difference with Once Human's actually entertaining to play. Over here on Assassin's Creed Shadows, this is not entertaining. This is just like fuck. Bought I bought a $227 version of the game to get fucked over by Ubisoft. At least that's what it feels like to me. To sit here for probably over 60 hours trying to force myself to be interested in playing this game, and I had just like I can't. And once I get the storyline done, I'm out of here. I'm sitting here, oh fucking finally we're done. I think it's a good game for those that don't really look at the storyline and don't actually, see what doesn't line up. If you don't really look at the storyline, you can kind of see that it kind of lines up and transitions well. But if you really look at it, you're gonna be able to pick it apart and find out, okay, that doesn't make sense transferring from point A to point B. So I understand why Ubisoft is upset, where they've spent hundreds of thousands of hours creating this map from scratch, putting NPCs in, voice lines, descriptions, interactable, being able to click on a chest, placing a chest. That's a lot of work just to watch a bunch of gamers be pissed that the game sucks. Yeah, you kind of put yourself in the developer's shoes. So I use the same tactics over in VR chat when I help clubs improve their clubs, right? So what I like to do is I put myself looking from the point of view of the developers of Ubisoft, what the hell they were thinking when making this game, right? If you think like them, you can try to understand them in a certain degree, right? So I look at it from their point of view. They're like, wow, this world's big, it's beautiful. They probably weren't thinking about putting like side missions up here, or they were, or they ran out of time. Who knows? There might be a side quest up here, but there's nothing to encourage me to come up here because it doesn't have an icon saying there's a side quest. You've got these world events that happen, which are kind of interesting, but they're kind of not. But you kind of get the idea. There's just not enough. Like, if you're going to do two different characters, you should make the second character towards the end, have to go to these areas, before completing the main questing. From a gamer's point of view, making us sit there for an hour and 30 minutes for a cutscene is a little stupid. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. So that's just my honest review regarding Assassin's Creed Shadows, what I thought of the game. I saw it extremely boring up to 30 hours in the game. After 30 hours in the game, it becomes kind of interesting. I wouldn't say it's 100% interesting. There's a couple spots where it broke immersion, where I'm like, okay, what the fuck was that about? But you kind of see what's going on with that, right? And now talking about the YouTube channel slash what's going on with my YouTube channel. So YouTube recently made a change to the ad system. You're going to notice a lot of your YouTubers doing like an hour and 30-minute video, or they're going to be dead spots during that video or stream. This is how YouTubers are getting around the recent change of YouTube. YouTube has made a change to the ad system where you can no longer manually put ads on your videos. Instead, an AI will now put ads in the video for you as long as the ads are non-intrusive, basically. So you may notice that YouTubers start doing videos where they're pausing their gameplay and sitting there for a couple minutes, or there are dead spots here where they're not doing anything, or you may notice that their videos are longer, trying to encourage the AI to put more videos or more ads on their videos, basically. So I wanted to give everyone a heads up of what's going on, of why there's so many gaming channels just shutting down out there right now. My gaming channel is not going to be closing down anytime soon, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up of what's going on regarding YouTube and why there's less gaming channels out there right now. My gaming channel is more of a hobby to me, where I show my gaming experience of me playing a game. If the channel makes money, it makes money. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it's more of a hobby for me. It keeps me busy with doing something. And I actually enjoy showing my gameplay for those that either can't afford the game or what's required to run the game. Not everyone has money to buy a game. And that's pretty much what's going on with my YouTube channel. If the channel makes money, it makes money. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's just how I feel regarding my YouTube channel. So, originally my goal was to put out 4 videos a day. And that's been tearing my sleeping schedule apart. I will be doing 2 videos instead of 4. Some days you'll see me release 4 videos publicly. Some days you'll see me do 2 videos. It really depends on how much sleep I'm getting. You gotta remember, I'm doing all the video editing. I'm doing all the video rendering. I'm doing all the uploading, adding titles, descriptions, tags for you to look up on the YouTube engine, going, this channel or Assassin's Creed gameplay. It's challenging. Trying to run a YouTube channel and also run a virtual dance club. It's a lot. Anyways, make sure you hit the like button, make sure to subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.